I think that's an important thing Kathrine said. Only in New York. You know, we take for granted that we're here all the time, but you don't realize the things that we think we could just do and get away with, and things
we think
that
are normal.
are normal because we're New Yorkers.
All right, it's Monday. Chazz Palminteri here. You know what this is? This is the Chazz Palminteri show with my co-host on my left, Tara Cannistraci. Tara, how are you today?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Tara kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm going to call her Tara kind of crazy.
And the wonderful, the great Kathrine Narducci. Narducci, as they say. Anybody ever call you Narducci except me? Narducci.
Yes, a lot of people.
A lot of people. All right, well, this is the show. Don't forget, go to my podcast. This is it right here.
I have a little sniffing salt to wake you
I know,
up.
I got to wake
Sorry,
up.
guys, we're on a delay this morning.
Go to my one-man show, Chazz Palminteri Show.
Wolverine.
The show that started it all. The show that was a hit on Broadway. It was the #1 show of the year in Las Vegas. John, tell the audience where I'm going to be.
September 14th, you're going to be in Munhall, Pennsylvania at the Carnegie Homestead Music Hall. September 27th, you're going to be in New Buffalo, Michigan at the Silver Creek Four Winds Casino. September 28th, you're going to be in Detroit, Michigan at the Fisher Theater. And October 2nd, you're going to be in Indianapolis at the Murat Theater.
All right. Don't forget also to go to my restaurants, Chazz Palminteri's restaurant, 30 West 46th Street, 264 Main Street, two of the best Italian restaurants anywhere. You come there, it's got to be great. It has to be great, folks, because my name is on it. Don't forget my cigars, the Chazz Palminteri Classic Bronx Tale cigars. Don't forget my Cabernet wine, Chazz Palminteri Cabernet wine. Listen to me, folks.
Some wine right now.
Yeah, we could use a little. Well, have a little wine right now. I'll go right to sleep. All right, Kathrine, you had something that's been on your mind, busting my balls,
let's hear it.
telling me I have to talk about this. What is it?
No, it happened this morning. I was picked up by one of my favorite people, Mike Mandrone.
Oh,
Mandrone,
so
which
annoying.
is Tara,
her husband.
kind of crazy's husband. And he picks me up, and we're kind of late, trying to rush back to Tara is having a meltdown, and we're driving. No, we're driving.
It's so
only
obnoxious.
in New York.
It's so
this
obnoxious.
is such a Mike.
You had a
told-
meltdown this morning?
Mike
Oh,
went
they're
up
just
20 notches in my book. Mike, you went up 20 notches. I looked at him. I went, "Will you marry me?" He goes, "Yeah, we'll work it out somehow." Wait. I get in the car with him, and we turn. We're in a hurry. We're zooming in and out. This is such a New York badass move. He goes down, makes the right, and what do we see in the middle of the block? An oil truck with the hose coming out. There's no way to get around. And I'm like, before another car comes back, just back up and go. He goes, no. He goes, let me see if I could go on the sidewalk. 20 parked cars from where we were to the next side. I go, no, Mike, you can't do it because all the driveways were blocked. So how do you get on the sidewalk? If this is the truck, you pass it. You ain't getting back into the street because all the driveways are parked.
Right.
You know what he does? He goes down a full city block on the street. I'm like, oh my God, Mike. In between, cement walls and cars, this skinny. I'm like, oh my God, Mike, no. One whole city block we drive down on the street with the car. And then he makes the turn a little bit and we go out on the next block on the sidewalk. That was a badass move.
And I hope we're not getting ticketed right now as nobody's coming to our house right now.
Wait, hold on. I gotta make a comment here.
And what is it?
Only a guy does that for someone that he's really.
Oh, this is already the most nauseating podcast we've had to date.
I mean, I don't understand you. You almost killed a girl because she tried to pop your husband's pimple on his back.
Yes, absolutely, I did.
Okay, and now, I don't know, between him and her, they're together a lot. I'm a little concerned.
They are. Every time I'm in LA, they're together.
I know.
The other day, my anniversary, Mike and I and Kathrine went away for a nice weekend upstate New York. We all went away for our
The
anniversary.
three of us went away for our anniversary.
It's questionable. It's at this point.
It's starting to get questionable to me. I got to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know.
Look
man.
into it.
I would look. No, there's nothing to look into.
I'm too busy worrying
too
about
busy.
my enemies. I don't realize you got to be careful.
She's
Keep
too-
your friends
yeah.
close, your enemies close over
I don't
here.
know. Well, you know, Kathrine. She wouldn't do anything. Kathrine, stand up. You know
You're
that.
trying to imply that my husband would?
Your husband. There's only two things your
He
husband.
is a guy.
He's a guy. That's number one. He's a guy, and there's only two things a guy wouldn't go to bed with: a deer and a snake. A deer he can catch, a snake he's afraid of. So that's it.
Well, that's not saying very much about Kathrine.
No. I mean, Kathrine is obviously, from all the calls we get on the show, a woman.
She's a hot commodity.
She's a hot commodity.
Could we
People
get
look-
back to my badass news? Now, let me get back to this because
Okay,
in
go ahead.
New York, no matter where I go, I was telling Mike, I go, only in New York, this is so badass. Something in LA would never do that. It would be like people would be on the phone with the cops.
Yeah.
In LA, I jaywalk and I would walk across the street against the light because no cars are coming, and I might see a car like a mile down the road. And as I'm walking from a mile away, that car is beeping at me. I'm like, you're a mile away. What are you beeping at? They get, until they get up close and they're like, in New York, they don't do that. They work with each other. You could jaywalk, a car will be like, yeah, go. Nobody cares.
That's
So
true.
I'm just saying, only in New York, folks. Only in New York.
Only in New York.
And Mike Mondrone, you went up 20 notches.
Mike Mondrone. I got to be honest with you. If months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, there could be a podcast where you'll look here and all of a sudden this chair is empty.
Or this chair is empty and you and I are on
this
Capri.
chair
We're
is
in
empty.
Capri somewhere on a
And
cigar boat.
people are going to go, where are the girls? What happened? And I'm going to have to make up a story. I'm going to have to go,
Listen.
it finally happened. Mike and Kathrine got together,
It says, hey, you heard it here first.
and Tara's looking for them.
No.
And
Tara's got plan B always. So Tara
So-
won't be struggling too much.
so all I can say is, all right, I'm okay. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. But
Wait till you see the videos I got of these two.
you got videos of them?
Well, we're away. It's
What
like
is it?
them,
What is
them
this?
two walking down the block and I'm behind.
Mike turns around. Mike goes, why are you following us?
I mean,
Come
does
on.
it- John, join in here. Does this sound a
This
little
is a
suspicious?
John, I have two
John, this
questions
is a very
for you.
secure marriage here. They're both madly in love with each other. Stop.
John, I have a question for you. Would you drive on a city block and do you want to be with my husband as well?
Okay, for the first question, I have driven on city sidewalks before because you do have to get around and you can't wait for an oil truck. Second part of the question, no, I wouldn't marry your husband.
I
Sorry,
backed
Mike.
up on blocks. I have done
I
like
backed up, but to drive over a thing, that means you have to be incredibly devoted to this woman. That means you have to be like, oh my God, I want to impress her so much. I can't do certain things because I'm married, but if I do this, this will indelibly put a mark in her, what I did for her. I'm sorry.
Or his
He
wife
was doing it for
or
his wife.
his wife just yelled at him that he better get his
Thank
ass
you.
to my
Let's
house
make the
with
real
Kathrine.
story.
You know, to come to think of it, I literally did this yesterday. I went to Taco Bell with my wife. We picked up some breakfast. We were on our way to go somewhere. And the only way to get to the parking lot was to drive on the sidewalk. And I was like, yeah, screw it. I'm going to drive on the sidewalk. And I went right into the parking
You know
lot.
what? You people got to follow the law. This is horrible.
Do you have a badge on your underwear?
Is he wearing a wire?
This is New York. I think that's an important thing Kathrine said. Only in New York. We take for granted that we're here all the time, but you don't realize the things that we think we could just do and get away with and things
We think
that
are normal.
are normal because we're New Yorkers.
Yeah.
New York moments, man.
Yeah.
So what's your New York? Give a New York moment.
A New York moment. I don't know.
Give me a New York moment that would only happen in New York that happened to you.
Oh, I think I told you that. I was walking down the street and a guy walked by me and he had 3 pancakes on his head. He had three pancakes on his head, and here's the thing that got me. He had a little pat of hotel butter right on his head.
No.
On top of the pancakes, and he's just walking like this. And I just was like, what the fuck? Because I'm tall and I was able to look down and see it. And people were like, not even paying attention, didn't even look at him.
3 pancakes and a pat of butter.
So I'm saying to myself, no, not a pound, a pat of butter right on it.
No, I said a pat of butter.
Yeah. It was like he must have picked it up from the plate and went like this and then walked out.
That is crazy.
But it's also like I would look at it and be like, that's crazy. And then I would go, okay, next. And I would keep it moving because we're so used to seeing things where people fly here. Like I can't stand being in Times Square, but people fly all the way over and they're like, this is amazing. Like,
okay, so what's your New York story?
I just had one with you.
What is it?
Kathrine and I were leaving my comedy show and we were on the corner. And we were actually even a few feet apart because like you were looking for a restaurant and I was maybe on my phone and some guy walks by us and he's like, oh my God, I love you two on the podcast. I watch your podcast. You guys are great. I love you guys. You're great. And he just kept walking and was going, seriously, I watch you guys all the time. I love it. And I'm like, this guy just saw not one, but 2 people he says he watches regularly and they happen to be together. And he still did not stop.
Right.
To talk to. He just was like, I gotta go. I'm a New Yorker. He's not being rude. I gotta keep it moving.
Throwing you the compliment. I got a time limit.
I love you guys. I watch you all the time. And I don't even know if he turns his whole body. I think he just turns his head a little bit. So the guy who's, thank you. It was, this is such, you're on 2nd Avenue and 6th Street. You see 2 people you watch and you don't stop. But I almost appreciated it more.
But you get it. You know what he meant.
Yeah.
But he didn't have time to sit there and kiss your ass and tell
it was just a perfect
stroke
moment.
you.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the guys in New York are different when you date them than guys in
LA?
In LA.
Hell yeah.
They do.
100,000%. That guy with the pancake and the butter.
Yeah.
In LA would have been 3 pieces of kale and Greek goddess dressing. I mean, that's the difference between LA and New York. Like, the guys are just like that. That's a metaphor to the guys in New York and LA.
How about
that even makes sense.
now? You working in LA a lot. You notice a difference with the guys there?
I notice difference in the comics.
How about the comedy there?
Yeah, it's different. I mean,
it's more edgier in New York.
You know, I just did a show in LA with Paul Verzi, and I said to myself, wow, I can't believe this audience is California because they were so great and we got away with so much in a way that I think 2 years ago we couldn't have. So for that, I'll say, or maybe because it was
it's more forgiving, LA?
I think both places are getting a lot better than they were 2 years ago.
How do you feel about the difference in the audiences?
They are different.
What is the reaction to you in New York as a verse?
I mean, New York, you have to remember, there's also a lot of tourists here. Like when you work in just regular city clubs, you're catering almost to the same, it's a lot of tourists sometimes in regular New York City clubs. Okay. Whereas East Coast comedy, when people are buying a ticket to see Tara Cannistraci, that crowd's there for me. It's easy. It's like a conversation. Sometimes if, it's not the same, I guess. That way in LA, but yeah, I think LA people are different. I think I'm acclimating well, and I'm getting into a really good community out there with people I really respect and really like, they're just different. It's New York and Cali were always like the same because always people say like everything else is in between us, but there's such significant differences. You were out there for so long.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's like, but actors owe everything from all around the world. You want to be an actor. People go to New York because they think theater, that's where you become the ultimate actor in New York. What do you think? Is comedy? I don't know about the comedy. I mean, I lived in LA for 15 years and I lived in the comedy clubs. I became friends with a lot of the comedians.
Yeah, you really
I'm a comedy person.
Yeah.
So do you think, what's the ultimate, like if I'm in Ohio, am I going to New York or LA to become a comic?
You have to go to both.
So this is what.
Where would you first?
So this is what somebody said to me. So I did a podcast in LA recently with my friend Paul, and I said, I'm loving the shows I'm getting out in LA. I feel like I feel like New York was kind of like the guy I was chasing, and LA was the guy that was into me. And the shows I were getting were so much better in LA. He goes, and he said, "Well, this is the truth." He goes, "You stay in New York to get good at comedy. You come to LA to get famous." And it was just like one of those lines where I was like, "Whoa." Like, and I got to be honest, the lineups in LA are just any club you're in, any given moment that some of these lineups are stellar with like real.
You don't. I think New York's the same way.
Not in the regular comedy clubs. Absolutely
They don't
not.
have great lineups in New York.
Maybe
I've
one
seen
club or
great
two.
lineups though.
Not as much as they are in LA. Not.
I mean,
as
LA,
many
you see
names.
everybody.
So they're out there. I think they get famous.
100%, and there's famous people there
You see a lot of great
in
comics
comedy
LA.
anyway. I mean, listen, there's always going to be the stellar places like the Comedy Cellar where you're going to see the real stars, but I mean that maybe only the Comedy Cellar when you think about like the premier comedy club. Whereas LA has, yes, they have their version or the Comedy Store, but
Yeah.
I do shows with all different names in all different clubs there. Like that it's just more common there.
I've seen a lot of comics when they were unknown, and I've seen them grow to be big, huge comics.
Yeah, I think LA and New York has its differences, but I think you're going to grow as a comic, as an artist, like Kathrine says, as an actor. You're going to grow in both places, and it's good to do both. I'm doing a week in California a month now.
Really? Wow.
A week in Cali a month.
Kathrine, how about you? I mean, do you feel like the agents are different in New York than they are here, or the executives are the same?
I think different.
Different.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
I think that New York gives unknowns more of a chance. LA is more about the names, bringing just a lot of times names, and I think New York, especially casting, gives unknowns more chance. They'll be more likely to bring you in if you're not a name. Yeah, give you a shot. I think that's just more of a percentage of having a chance to get in.
In LA, it's all about the heat.
It's about the heat. What's your last? What you
did last?
What was your last
in
film?
New York? They really want.
No, I think it's about the talent.
It's about the talent. Yeah, what I think the difference in casting is when I'm in LA, and if I'm auditioning for an actor in a play or a movie I wrote, in LA, out of 20 actors, 10 are okay, 5 are pretty good, and then you get like maybe 3 are really great. In New York, you audition 20 actors and 10, 15 are really good. And maybe a couple of people are great. Everybody's just better. Just better. And and the reason why is because all the theater people audition for movies.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of really good actors here. Competition's harder here than LA, definitely. I think.
Here?
Here. I think it's more about the name there, but like you said.
I know. So I think that's true.
You got all these
I'm
Broadway.
on the fence about that.
You got all these Broadway actors and off-Broadway actors auditioning for these 3 lines in a sitcom or whatever. They're all good, man. Pretty crazy.
I've sat in casting rooms, casting my friend Michael Testa, who was pretty big casting director out there. I sat in for that show. Remember Anthony LaPaglia was on it. Without a Trace.
Yeah.
And I got lucky enough. He let me sit in. I said, let me sit in. I want to watch because I could learn so much. I sat in, and it was really a big eye opener for me. First of all, the audition process and watching a lot of these LA actors come in and the way they audition. And then I sat in New York in a casting session.
Right.
And 2 different animals.
Really?
Yes, because you're asking about LA actors and New York actors, and even the process and even the vibe and the attitude. It's like 2 different animals. Casting directors opposed in New York as opposed to casting directors in LA. 2 different animals, 2 different vibes going on in the room. I don't know, to me, very different.
Like what kind of vibe?
Well, the vibe would be, I think, New York. I don't want to say, there are good actors, great actors on both coasts, first of all. I'm not knocking LA and just praising New York. Maybe I'm just used to the way New York works.
Right.
I just feel in New York, the kind of actors that I saw, everybody walked in, mostly everybody, a little more, I want to say, kept it real and more relaxed and more down. Where I think LA, I felt was a lot of overacting.
Yeah.
A lot of, I don't know. I just felt it was very different. Different styles of acting too.
Yeah.
Depending, I guess, who you study with. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right about that.
Did you know, like, you knew when you were ready to be in LA? Like, you got up one day and were like, I want to be in LA. Like, right now, I feel I am being pulled to LA. We talk about it. Like, I feel like I just.
Well, then you got to
I'm
go
supposed
there.
to, I know. I have to go there. And that's what I'm doing, so that Kathrine could be with my husband. And I'm.
No, listen.
No,
I
it's the
think
truth.
if that's what you feel organically, then then that's
it's where I feel I belong right now.
Then that's what you do.
Can you get an apartment there? You
Yeah.
think? You going to get an apartment there?
I'm gonna stay. Yeah. Right now. I'm only gonna be there a week a month.
Wow. Well, if you're going to be there a week a month, you should get an apartment.
Yeah.
I would definitely get an apartment there. Yeah. And then it's going to end up. Now, what happens if you're there a lot? You end up 2 weeks a month, 3 weeks a month.
I mean, listen, it's going to be where the work is. It's going to be what happens for me here in New York. I have some really good auditions coming up in New York that could really keep me here more than there.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm not going to give it up. Like, whenever I have the 5-day gap, I'm going to allocate it just for LA.
Well, Kathrine, she doesn't want you to give it up, Kathrine.
No, Catherine's very adamant. She
Kathrine-
wants me to go to
Kathrine wants
LA.
you to
She
go to
likes
LA.
her dinners. She likes her dinners with Mike.
Her house is my favorite house. Her neighborhood is my favorite.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on one second.
Mike went to the actor's studio with her.
Did Mike ever? I'm afraid to even ask this.
No, ask it.
Did he ever make you dinner?
Mike can't boil water.
No, but he's bought me dinner.
You went out with Mike for dinner.
Yes.
So did Gianna, by the way. But
My wife did go out with Jana to dinner. Yeah, but she doesn't like. They're not together every day. Like
We're not together every day.
I'm telling you, I don't know about.
Guys,
You got one
phone in.
eyebrow up.
Guys,
You got one
phone in.
eyebrow
Let
up.
me know if I should be worried.
I gotta admit it. She's pretty. I thought my wife would never allow this. Never. Even her or you, not doing it.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nobody's got a problem with that.
No.
To each his own.
To each his own. I
All right, I have a
ship.
good question for you. Forget me. Would you allow Mike to do that with anybody? Any one of your friends?
It depends on my closest friends. Yeah.
Jana, you want to?
100%.
100%.
You,
Jana.
Okay.
Gianna, yeah, absolutely.
So, could I just say something? There's no vibe. There is nothing. It's like nothing. It's like I'm out with my brother. I have 3 guy friends that I
for
get to sleep with.
for my anniversary, we were in this big house upstate, and it was Mike and I in the bed, and then in the in the bunk beds, Kathrine was in the same bedroom as us. She's like, "I'm gonna stay in the room with you." It's like our kid. I'm like, "Okay, honey, there you are."
I was afraid in this big
She
house
goes, "I don't want to be in a
Oh, come
different
on.
bedroom." I'm like, "No, this is the exact way I pictured my anniversary weekend being. Me upstate in a bedroom with my husband and Kathrine."
It's a house invasion. I'm afraid of. I don't want to be all the way up on that end, and they're downstairs. You know those
And
houses.
her and him was snoring, and I'm up.
don't know.
I'm like,
I mean,
what is happening
You grew
right
up in
now?
Harlem.
Harlem.
Look at me.
I grew up in Harlem.
Yeah.
Harlem
Snoring?
was buildings
Snoring?
with doors.
He was snoring, and I'm like this. How is this my anniversary weekend? I'm listening to Kathrine and Mike snore in a house upstate.
I don't snore. First of all,
You needed a heavy sleep, and you got it. You said you weren't sleeping. You
I
hadn't
snored?
been sleeping. Yeah, you were breathing pretty
holy
heavy.
shit. That's not good. No, but let me tell you, here's the difference. Let's talk about the differences. Never mind LA, New York. Let's talk about upstate in New York. First of all, there's 5,000 windows, ground level. Boom! Hand in, turn the doorknob. I'm killing the whole family.
Listen, this is how.
What are you going to do in New York? Climb up the side of the wall like Spider-Man?
This is the way our brains think. So the other day, Mike comes in my house. It comes home and he goes, "Oh, this bag was left outside. I guess somebody dropped it off to us." It's like a bag of Legos and games, and We don't even have kids. I go, get it out of my house. It's probably a bomb. Like, that was
Oh,
where
my
my
God.
head...
Bomb?
Bomb. I mean,
That's
who's gonna
where
bomb
my
you?
head goes.
What?
I go, what are you bringing a strange bag in here? We don't have kids. Somebody left Legos and toys, and you bring the bag in my house?
Oh, my God.
I don't know what's in that bag. It could be a bomb. And
Maybe that's somebody trying
That's
to tell
it.
you to have a kid.
Maybe. Well,
Maybe it was
they could
Mike's
pay
mother.
for it. Yeah, probably. It's probably my mother.
Wanting a grandchild.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, probably. But
I think we're going to take this back one day. We're going to hear the
Aw.
story of Mike
and
and
Catherine.
Kathrine.
And how Tara still living in the house, and they're
Do you know a
Both
guy
kicked
told
out.
me a story? I was working at a club once, many years ago when I was in a band. And I got to know the,
Why are you talking very refined today? Many years ago when I was in a band.
when I was in a band.
Then you said ask.
And I spoke to the guy, and he says, we're talking about boyfriend, do you trust? He goes, well, guys, I said, really, why do you? He was really negative about it. I said, why? His name was Roy. I shouldn't say his name, but that's been
Schreider?
40 years ago. And he was getting engaged on New Year's Eve. They wanted to get engaged, but because he was a partner in this big, big nightclub, he had to work New Year's Eve. The next day, on New Year's Day, he was taking her. No one knew this. He was telling me this. He was taking her to a tavern on the green. That was a big thing back then.
I remember.
And he was going to present a ring to her. And he felt bad that he had to leave her on. So he asked his brother, if he could be with his wife so she wouldn't be alone
girlfriend.
on New Year's Eve.
No!
No, his girlfriend.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Do not drop this bomb.
No, listen to this. This is a true story. He leaves his brother with her. He goes, does the show, comes back, comes in the house.
Finds him having sex.
No. Doesn't find him having sex. She's gone. She's not there. And the brother's gone. And there's a note on the table, a letter. And the letter says, your brother and I have been in love with each other for quite some time. I'm sorry. I know, because he told his brother that he was going to propose the next day.
So he went
Holy
and told
shit.
her.
So he told her, and she says, I cannot do that to you. Your brother told me you were going to ask me to marry you. I'm getting the chills now. I'm with you. Your brother and I went away to elope and get married.
How old?
What?
How old were they?
He was in his late 20s.
So 20s. 20s is something,
Yeah.
Late 20s.
Your brain hasn't fully developed yet. You're making all these decisions.
And he tells me this story, and I'm like, I'm just sitting there, just like you guys are. And I go, did you ever speak to your brother again? And he said to me, I never spoke to my brother for 30 years. 30 years. My brother's never seen my wife or my grandchildren. He goes, just recently, we started talking, and we got back together, and now I see him once in a while with my wife, and he sees
And his wife? Is he still with the woman?
still with the woman.
I mean, he's still with her.
Yeah. He's
But
still
this
with
guy
her.
has to be with somebody else too.
Yeah.
So that's why it doesn't bother him as much.
But he said he was able to after 30 years. Wow.
Yeah, but that's, come on, that's, wow.
I mean, if best friend married my 27-year-old boyfriend back then, she would be doing me a favor. That wouldn't have been
Yeah.
somebody I wouldn't want to be with for the
Yeah.
rest of my life.
Yeah.
I've evolved so many times over that, but still, nonetheless,
Well,
that's a crazy,
crazy story.
That's a crazy story.
Well, with that story,
With that story, Tara will be the one to cheat before
Tara.
Mike. I want to get that out there just so we
Okay.
know.
I want to say thank you so much.
I just want to give you the note from Mike, me and Mike.
And let's end this episode.
All right, don't forget, come and see my one-man show, ChazzPalminteri.net. My restaurant's 30 West, 46th Street, 264 Main Street. God bless you and see you next week.